Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of our Kerbal Space Program Submissions Hyper-Testing. This is the 3-part series in which we are going to search through 100 submitted crafts in order to try and narrow them down to just a few to get onto my next big project. So, how are we going to do that? Well, this is the first round comprised of these next 3, or this part, the previous part, and the next part, where we take it from 100 down to hopefully 30? It's probably going to end up being more than 30 because I'm a bit too nice, I've realised. In the last episode of our hyper-testing, 34 crafts were tested and over 19 made them through, which is probably a bit too much. So I may end up having to be a bit meaner, a bit more cruel, a bit more demanding, but we shall see how that goes. The first craft today is the HOCgaming rover, submitted by Jack. This basically looks like an all-in-one base. It's got two... It basically looks like an all-in-one base. I'm doing that thing again where I really don't vary my language at all, do I? It's got two very small, very interesting rovers mounted underneath, which have got crew capacity for one person, it looks like. It looks like there's only one command chair on each one. Situated quite far forwards on the buggy, which isn't necessarily a problem, it's just a bit weird. The thing itself is made up of a massive science module. It's got a fair amount of fuel. Actually, no, having said that, I thought that was a fuel tank. It's got a very small amount of fuel. No method of attachment, no docking ports or anything, which isn't necessarily a problem because we do have those claws that I was talking about in the previous episode. It's got plenty of lights, and they are funky lights. However, no, not however, not going to say the word however. Despite this, the addition of funky light is no longer enough to carry your entry through the rounds because, as I said, I have to be a bit more cruel. So though this does look quite interesting, oh god, you're kidding me. Though this looks intriguing, and it does have 2 mini rovers mounted on top, the turning circle is very, very bad, which is a reason that I've turned down other crafts before it, other submissions. So, unfortunately, due to the lack of mobility, and also due to the bit of a pointless waste of weight of the science module, and the fact that it does have over 100 parts, I'm gonna have to say this one is a no. Thank you very much for the submission there. Launching in 3, 2, 1... Our next submission for today is the HOC Insert Craft Name Gaming Mark II, submitted by Rastamon. Excuse me. It is a rocket with something that looks suspiciously like the Spacia launch stage. The Spacia launch stage Mark II, that is. You've nicked my launch stage. And, oh, apart from the addition of these, of course. And on top of it is a very, very basic liquid fuel powered transfer stage. I'm not entirely sure what this is intended to be. It's got a single docking port on the top. It's got lots of liquid engines and not an awful lot of fuel capacity. This thing looks horribly inefficient despite having a very good thrust to weight ratio. I can't entirely see what the use of this is. The description doesn't contain any giveaways. I'm not particularly impressed, I have to say. I think the fuel capacity is too small to have that capacity of engines, and the extra engines, as well as this one in the centre, is basically redundant. And though it does use a very, very good launch stage, I'm going to have to turn this one down. Third of our submissions today is the HOCgaming 3-man plane VTOL, submitted by Harvey. Huh. Oh, thank you very much, Harvey. Harvey will now proceed to test Harvey's plane. So, this plane submitted by Harvey is... Where I come from, there's one person called Harvey, and that's me. So, having someone else also called Harvey is quite a surprise. This is the VTOL plane, and it is a very... I'm not going to say interesting, I'm not going to say interesting. It's very intriguing. I'm going to replace it with that, aren't I? It's a very intriguing design. The wing surface is mounted on top of the fuel tanks and the engines, something that not many planes submitted do, but quite a lot of planes in real life do, I understand. And I particularly like this back tail plane, whatever it's called. I'm not an aeronautics fan, so I'm not sure of the correct names, but it does look pretty stylish, to say the least. I believe that toggles the ladder. No. I read some action groups beforehand. There we go. Action groups. Trying to actually look at the action groups before flying these planes. So, it doesn't look like it flies particularly stably. Stable? Oh no, here we go. Yeah. If I use trimming, I'm just going to trim up. Try and get it to fly level. Oh, it does have a tendency to tip forwards, which does count against it. However... No! Not however! God damn. If you don't understand why I'm complaining whenever I say the same word over and over again, go watch the first episode. Yeah, despite the tendency to tip forwards, it really does fly quite well, actually. It's just that using manual flying with a keyboard is rather shaky and rather bouncy aroundy. So, what else does this plane have to offer besides a stylish tail plane, whatever it's called? Well, apparently it can fly rather large distances, and I believe it, as it does have a very large fuel capacity. It even has some oxidizer on board, which I'm not entirely sure... Oh, look here, we have VTOL engines. Time to test the VTOL section of this submission. Okay, now the action group for this was number 1, so I'm going to throttle down. I'm going to open up the landing gear. And I'm guessing if I pitch up whilst activating the engines, I could maybe reduce the landing distance. I'm not entirely sure why the VTOL is necessary. I guess it's mainly for takeoff. But the description did hint that it was good for landing. Looks like we're coming down. Ooh, 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 ooh. Here we go. Okay, not bad, not bad. Now I'm going to test the takeoff once more. The problem is this is an entirely atmospheric plane. Ooh. And as a result, it's not likely to be accepted, though it is very functional. Okay, so, VTOL. There we go. And then we swap, turn on the engine. Turn off the VTOL. And look. Fully functional plane. VTOL, very nice. It is a very nice plane. I actually quite like it a lot. But, again, it's just the problem that I'm not going to have much use of atmospheric planes. SSTOs. If it was an SSTO, that would be brilliant, but... Sorry, but I do have to be quite harsh. So, though this is an excellent plane, and I do commend you for your engineering capabilities, I'm going to have to leave this one be. Thank you very much for the submission, Harvey. Fourth on the list, we have another atmospheric plane, the HOCgaming viewer-submitted bigger plane, submitted by Joris. Thank you very much for the submission, and thank you very much for this intriguing design. Unfortunately, it can't take off. Okay. Well, I was doubting its aerodynamic capabilities, but... And I'm sure I did that right, but I feel like I'm going to have to test it again, just because people will complain, and I don't want to give this thing an unfair chance. If this thing can't take off by itself, then that's almost a certain no, due to the combination of being a atmospheric plane. And this does not look structurally integral. I have to say, this doesn't look structurally integral whatsoever. So flight control on, SAS on, taking a rather bemused glance at these forward-facing and backwards-facing command modules that make up the strongest part of the plane, I'm sure. Does have a lot of fuel, 2 engines, so it can travel quite fast. Okay, right, now it works. There we go. It was just my fault, I evidently did something wrong. And if we take off Advanced SAS, it flies rather level. The balancing is not bad. Trimming up slightly. There we go, do need to trim up quite a little. Okay, it can do some acrobatics. It's got quite a few air intakes. By which I mean 6. Which isn't a bad number, 6 is okay. If you're intending to do very high altitude flying, you'd probably want a bit more than 6. This is the problem I'm going to have. I'm determined to test all of these submissions that I've downloaded and chosen out of the emails. But if so many of them are going to be atmospheric plane, I'm going to end up denying a lot of submissions, not because of their quality, just because I won't be using them. That's the real shame here. This plane is functional, but it's just as functional as other planes that I've turned down because we don't have room for many atmospheric submissions. The more atmospheric planes I take in, the less rockets and SSTOs and other such planes that will be more of use to me in the series I'll be able to accept as well. So again, though this is a intriguing design, and though it does have a very unconventional loading, how are we supposed to get Kerbals on there, I wonder? Can I find a genuine criticism? How are we supposed to get the Kerbals here? There's no ladders on the craft in order to load them up. You're actually even covering the cockpit ladder section using these winglets. If you were to lower the landing gear to bring it close to the ground, you run the risk of destroying these fuel lines and breaking off the engines. I've had that happen many times before with those engines. Yeah, you haven't included a way to load up the command pods. And that is the first genuine criticism I can really find. So, with all that taken into account, thank you very much for the submission, but I'm going to have to say no. Which craft will break the losing streak of our current lack of acceptance? Will it be the HOC Plane Retrieval Craft version 2 submitted by the Perpetual? Another atmospheric plane. Though this one does, it is very different in its design, I have to say. This one does have a ladder, that's good. Ladders are good. It has reaction wheels, which may be a bit unnecessary, but hey. And it's got a VTOL engine. Okay, now if I remember rightly, VTOL was 1. No, apparently not. VTOL was 2. Yes, VTOL was 2. Trying to remember from the description. And supposedly, I'm supposed to be stationary. Let this thing dial up to max, and then actually make use of RCS to jet myself upwards. If we can take a look at the resources tab here, we have 315 monopropellants, which is quite a lot. So now that's up to max, we should be able to lift off with RCS. Oh, here we go. Is it working? Ooh. The thrust is very minimal. It actually, I'm kind of having to bounce it up into the air. It's really not. Here we go. Yep. There we are. It is technically a VTOL. It is technically a VTOL, but barely. Good thing we have a lot of monopropellants, eh? Yeah, it is a good thing indeed. I have to say it's rather stable, but I guess that is because of the reaction wheel at the back there. Now we turn on the main engines with 1. And we are away. Open up landing gear, turn off the RCS, turn off the VTOL engine. And that is our VTOL capacity. We can also turn off RCS, I suppose. Now with advanced SAS, it does pitch forwards, which is a trend we've noticed with a lot of crafts. But it's to be expected because as your fuel trains backwards, it's a good idea to start off with your centre of mass in front of the centre of lift. Which seems to be what most of these crafts are doing. And it also has parachutes, which I guess we ought to test. What can I use this for? This is my fault. This is my lack of negligence. My lack of negligence. That would be preferable, wouldn't it? This is my negligence for telling people to submit atmospheric planes and then not really having use for them. I've kind of made design decisions as I went along about exactly how I want the series to function. And again, atmospheric planes aren't going to feature an awful lot into it. So we're going to cut the engines. I'm going to turn on the VTOL engine. And hopefully without using RCS, I'll be able to land this thing with the main engine and the parachutes. This has turned more into testing for testing's sake, I'm afraid, because I'm pretty much certain that I'm not going to have a use for this. Oh, we're tipping backwards. There we go, turn those off. Okay, parachutes away. Probably ought to have RCS on as well. We can have RCS on. Open landing gear, open landing gear. Oh, we survived though. We did survive. Quite impressive. Perhaps what's more impressive is how badly I piloted that. But hey, we're on the ground, so stop complaining. Nonetheless, a very, very functional VTOL. Looks like it's got an awful lot of fuel. An awful lot of fuel, actually. That is a surprisingly large amount of fuel. Does use a low altitude atmospheric jet, which wouldn't give it all that much distance, which does count against it. And yeah, it's an atmospheric plane, no VTOL capability. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say no. Submitted by Trogdor, we have the I'll think of a name sometime craft, which is currently taking off from the runway. This is This is remarkable. If this thing can fly... I've never had a plane submitted like this before. Or at least not exactly like this. Ooh, oh, and it can fly. Even without advanced SCS, it certainly can fly. Bringing up the... Oh dear, oh. Okay. It isn't aerodynamic, I can tell you just from flying. What's happening is that no matter... Yeah, it doesn't have a preference for direction. It's just, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the term. It has negative stabilization, so if it goes out of control in one direction, it'll spiral out of control in that direction, more so exponentially, no matter which direction it is. And this is probably due to the lack of surface area of the wing surfaces. It does make for an interesting flying experience, though. However, it's entirely aerodynamic. It isn't responsive, and it's not predictable. It's very hard to control. Yeah. Ooh, just flying it. It's taking my concentration, actually. I'm trying to predict where it'll go, and I'm basically failing. It seems to have a tendency to want to turn to the left as well, which is a bit interesting. Ooh, up, ooh, oh. It does make for an entertaining flight, though. It does make for an entertaining flight. However, no, not however. Despite this, despite the entertainment factor, it only has 3 tanks of fuel between 2 engines. It only has 2 intakes, 1 crew capacity, and is only atmospheric. So, I'm going to have to say no to this submission, actually. Oh, here we go. Oh. Does make for an entertaining flight. I'll give you that. Challenging crafts to fly. That could be a series in its own right, couldn't it? Thanks for the submission. Next up are the JRAI_P_golf carts submitted by Grey Dragon. Finally, something that isn't an atmospheric plane that I can try and rate on its own merit and nothing else. Okay, so it comes equipped with a launch stage, and this thing is built to actually get all the way to Duna to deliver these golf carts. Of course, we won't actually be testing it all the way to Duna today. We'll simply be testing it perhaps over that mountain range, maybe? Yeah, I think we could do that. We'll turn it and just point it in this general direction. And then we'll land the crafts, and then we'll judge them on their own merit. Is it craft or crafts? What's the plural of craft? Well, I saw one comment saying that the plural was actually just craft, and I kind of find that hard to believe, but now every time I say the word crafts, I'm feeling rather silly. Whatever the case, let's take a look at these whilst they're in flight. It's kind of hard to see, actually. They've got command pods on the front. I can only imagine that the actual golf carts themselves aren't attached to those command pods. In fact, yes, here we go, the couplers here. Equipped with solar panels and parachutes for landing and plenty of science utilities and an interior. One has to wonder how people will get in, but I guess you can probably just stand next to the golf carts and then right-click on the chairs to load yourself in. It's got 2 of them, so it's symmetrical. This actually has a chance of getting through. Okay, what we're going to do now is wait for these engines to cut themselves, as these are solid rocket boosters as well. And then detach, I'm guessing? Yeah, there you go. Nice. Nice separation using, whatever they're called, the small booster things there. Sepatrons. And I'm going to cut these engines and get rid of those. Again, Sepatron usage. I don't tend to go in for Sepatrons, but it is a nice design idea. It definitely improves your reliability somewhat. And then we would continue on with this, and this seems to be the transfer stage. Liquid fuel, so it won't be the most efficient, however it does have a lot of fuel. It does have rather a lot of thrust as well, thinking about it. I reckon that could do the job, yeah. I've got to wonder whether this has actually been tested. That's the problem, you can never really know whether these things will be able to make it to Duna. Just off my own intuition based on how this craft is flying, I'd say that it would be able to. I think in the right hands, you'd definitely be able to get this to Duna. So that's the first part tested. Then we detach that. And more Sepatrons to push it away from us. Love the Sepatrons use, I really do. And here we seemingly have the final stage. Next in the staging are the parachutes. So I guess this is the part that's supposed to land on Duna. Okay, well, we'll do some time acceleration. Unfortunately, it seems like we're going to land on a mountain range, which perhaps isn't the best way to test Duna environment. This thing, if it isn't already travelling slow enough, has an extra set of parachutes. To bring it down to 5.8 on Kerbin, which is probably less than 10 meters per second on Duna, coupled with these engines down here, to make sure this thing lands safely, which we'll hopefully do now. I am worried about the landing safely though, because it is a very tall design with a very narrow base. Thrust up, thrust up. And we're landed, but, oh, we're gonna fall over. Oh no. Ooh, ooh, okay. I'm going to take a decouple. Please land upright. No, you fools, what are you doing? Land upright. Explosions. Is this just the welcoming party? Oh hey, what the... They can self-right themselves. I don't know if that was intentional, but good lord, is it worth it. This is a yes. A yes to the golf cart's craft. Submitted by Grey Dragon. This is very nice. It's an entirely all-contained mission to deliver two very functional, at least appearances, very functional looking crafts. Craft or crafts, I don't know! With plenty of parachutes, not something to worry about, and perhaps a tendency to fall over, but that is surely just for the sake of entertainment. This is absolutely 100% a yes. Thank you very much for the submission. So I was just about to start off this particular review by saying, oh, we haven't got much time left, I'm going to try and hyper speedrun through the rest. And then I saw this. And, oh my god, this is beautiful. It's just beautiful. Using 3 or 2 meter size parts, even got hitchhiker containers. And how is this thing, how does it work? Apparently it can land on water as well. And you know what? Even if I haven't got a use of airplanes, I need to just make one, don't I? I really just need to make one in order to use this. Okay, we need to test its actual flying capability, so it's pitching up a fair amount. I'm trimming forward to try and compensate, and yeah, it's flying level. It's obviously got a lot of fuel, only uses 2 engines, which is nice. Sometimes on big planes like this, most people would... Ooh, it doesn't aileron roll so well. But a lot of people might be tempted to spam like 4 or 6 engines on a plane like this. But 2 engines is plenty, it's really, really good. What else can I say about this? I mean, it doesn't overuse wing surfaces. It's got very wide, big surface using these wings, which I particularly do like. Lighting? Ooh, no funky lights. Oh, hang on, is that yellow? Yeah, you've used the yellow light there. Or is that just the standard? Oh, whatever. Whatever the case, the fact that it flies, it's obviously got a lot of fuel. Apparently it's also got abort sequencers, which we'll test in a moment, and can land in water, which I'm just too tempted not to test now. The flying isn't so responsive, but you really wouldn't expect it to be, considering it's actually carrying hitchhiker storage containers. How have you interfaced... Oh, and they drop as well. Right, so it's these things that abort. So basically you can deliver cargo containers. Deliver, well, Kerbal containers rather than cargo, I suppose. I'm going to go for a water landing. I know I haven't got much time in this video left, so I guess we're probably going to have to make either a super long or super edited third part, or simply make 4 parts of this series, or this rounds of testing. I don't know, we'll see. But this is too fun not to play around with, so I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to use this in the series if it works. Okay, so just want to try and stay level. Going to turn on Advanced CS. Try and decrease my altitude as slowly as possible to give it the best chance of working. Throttling down to very, very minuscule amounts. I'm just watching this dial up here. Oh, there we go. We're in. And did something break? I don't think anything broke. Oh, that's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Can I invent a reason for us to go to Lave? Just so I can use this. Okay, now of course the real question is, can it take off? I'm going to turn off Advanced SES. I'm going to reset the trimming, actually, to help us pitch up. Oh. It looks like it's got plenty of clearance. I'm just worried about this back decoupler, perhaps. Oh, it's beautiful! It's so good! It's so good! Absolutely 100% yes. This is the... I didn't even say the name, did I? This is the... Karma Multijet, submitted by Jan. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for the submission. In fact, I just want to see some more specs. Karma Multijet. 140 parts, 22 tons, and increasing. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I wonder if I just replaced these engines with Rapier engines, I could probably make a lot of these ships that I've turned down actually suitable for my needs. Especially this, considering how much fuel it can carry. I'd be very surprised if this couldn't go SSTO. And the fact that it's carrying such a large weight as well, it could probably store some decent, like, a nuclear engine on there. So you might even be able to go into planetary with this thing. I'm thinking once I've done with the basic first round of... Oh, no. Oh, ooh. It survived! It actually survived that! This is the best plane ever! What was I saying? Yeah, I reckon with a lot of these submissions, and this in particular, I could make this probably... I could probably turn this into an SSTO. And I think I will. After we finish this round of testing, and all these testing things, which actually, you know what, we'll end it here. We'll end it on this note. Once we've finished with all these various different out of the 100 submissions testing, and we get it down to closer to 30, then I might start making my own modifications to try and make them suitable for my needs. We'll see, it depends. With stuff like this, then that seems like a very good idea. But thank you very much for submitting this, because this has actually made my day. I was getting worried that I was being too pessimistic and turning down all the atmospheric planes, but this has absolutely made my day. And what I want to do is change to free mode with improved chase cam on, and turn off this, and pitch forwards slightly, and then just kind of put the camera here. This mod, by the way, that I've been using is called the improved chase cam, if you haven't already realised, and it basically makes the camera follow your velocity vector rather than stuck rigidly to your ship, which allows you to rotate without the world rotating around you, which is decent, and it also allows you to have a bit of flexibility, so though you do turn with the plane does shake around a bit without shaking your entire camera. Gives you a lot more freedom, flexibility, makes it much more like a natural flight. This doesn't really work with rockets or rovers, but for planes it is perfect. Just thought I'd drop that there, seeing as I don't really use mods and a few people have been asking. But yes, here we go. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Unfortunately, submissions are closed. I'm not going to take any more. I've got the 100 downloaded, which I'm going to have to carry on sorting through, and in process will make more videos of. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.